Hello. We are going to rock these funky headphones. Hello and welcome to Start Somewhere. This is the podcast and now YouTube platform where I share episodes on the topics on mindset, meditation, manifestation, women in business, building a personal brand, being your own boss, creating the life of your dreams, all that fun stuff that is honestly me as a person. I've now converted into a platform. Well, now converted. I've had this platform for over 2 years, which is super exciting. If you are new here, hello, welcome. I'm so grateful you chose to sit down, to go on a walk, to whatever it is you're doing right now, to listen to the podcast. Now, we are also now on YouTube. I'm going to be consistent with posting these episodes to YouTube as well. So if you are watching us, hello, you can see me right here. If not, you are just listening to my voice. Either way, I'm super grateful you chose to spend your time with me in this episode. So I am back with brand new content. I am here today talking about my Europe recap. This is an episode I have been so excited to record before I even went on my trip. But however, before we do continue, firstly, I want to say, please be sure to follow the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. That way you never miss an episode. And secondly, I'm going to be mixing it up. I'm going to be posting episodes bi-weekly, so fortnightly. This is because I am focusing on very exciting projects. There are a couple things in the works. One thing in particular is currently being created in the background. I cannot share much of what it is yet, but if you follow the podcast on Instagram, which is startsomewhere.podcast, you may or may not have seen a little sneaky story I put up not too long ago. I tagged my friend Katie Walker, and first of all, Katie, good friend of mine. Second of all, she was on my podcast not too long ago. Third of all, she's the person I'm creating something with. So something fucking unreal is coming. But I'm multi-passionate, full on out. It's in my Instagram bio. It's what I do. I do so many different things. I'm here to show you how you can do so many different things. Something as well, I'm going to get into this into the episode, but I truly believe you can do whatever it is you want to do. You can have these different sides of you. I'm very much one half spiritual, manifester, meditator, journaling, gratitude, like full on free-spirited person. Other half of me is like super, analytical, logical, gets things done, can very much be my masculine. I very much believe you can go out and get super drunk and have, late night Maccas and have heaps of cocktails and wines and do this or that. And then the other half of me is like up early, having my green powder, going for my hikes, going to the gym consistently, like meditating. Like you can do whatever it is you want to do. And I'm here to show you exactly how to do that. So this has been a very energizing, pumped up intro. As you can tell, I'm very exactly that, pumped to be here. So I am going to be this is going to be a 2-part series. So the first part, which is this episode, this is going to be all about Europe in general. So not about my Mindspa retreat, but specifically about my holiday in Europe. So if you're somebody who is wanting inspiration, you're somebody who's wanting to feel excited and energized and yet again, inspired to go on a holiday, to travel, to do something you just keep it's just in the back of your mind, but you're not following through, this is the episode that is going to help you get over that line. So if you're somebody who, I had so many people be like, oh my gosh, I was just like living vicariously through your stories. You've inspired me to travel XYZ. First of all, I love that I could do that for people. I honestly shared every single moment of my holiday on my Instagram, my personal account, which is Isabel Prestia, because I have a personal brand. Therefore, what I'm doing, my traveling experiences, what I do in my life is all a part of my brand. And I realized, guys, traveling is amazing for my brand. So I loved documenting and sharing. Like I am a digital like content creator so throughout who I am as well. Like my mind is always on the content. I'm obsessed with it. And so it was just so much fun for me to be on this holiday and just to get like such a different perspective and new ideas to, you know, film, create, record, take photos, take videos, like whatever it may be. So I was in my absolute element. And as well, I was just completely thriving on this whole entire trip from leaving Adelaide to coming back to Adelaide. Just the whole entire experience was just thriving. So I'm so excited to get into this episode. But before we do, I am giving a shout out to today's sponsor, which is myself, which is my own brand. So this is my one-on-one coaching container. It goes for 12 weeks. We have one call a week, which goes for 45 minutes. And this is where we workshop an idea, a passion, a side hustle, a business that you want to bring forward into fruition. So whether you have an idea or a side hustle, or maybe you've got nothing, or maybe you've already got a booming business and you just want to get more from it. It doesn't matter where you're at on your journey. This is a one-to-one experience that is very much tailored to where you are at. And we focus on my 3 pillars, which are mindset, marketing and strategy, and manifest. And based on, based on where you are at in your journey and based on where you want to go, we utilize my Start Somewhere strategy to create actionable steps to boost your confidence, to go through your mindset, to work through limiting beliefs and shadow works and everything else in between to get you to where you want to be. And I've noticed such a common theme from all of my testimonials from my one-on-one clients. And they say that what we worked on in our sessions, it rippled on into so many other areas of their life. And coming back to what I'm all about, personal branding, mindset, marketing, business, everything is a ripple on into your life. So one of my clients in particular I can think of now, we were focusing so much on strategy and marketing and branding. And then when she was telling me how much she enjoyed our sessions, she said that our conversations about these topics of marketing and branding and business, they were starting to ripple on into other areas of her life. And she was just exuding confidence online and also offline. And she was finding all the energy from our calls. Like we were getting so hyped up, so excited. She found that was rippling into other areas of her life. So if this sounds like something that maybe has sparked your interest, maybe you want to experience that type of exciting momentum, just like I shared from that previous example from one of my clients, then definitely act on that. Check out, I'm going to put a link in the description and the show notes of this podcast. I also have a whole heap of further information about my one-to-one coaching on my Instagram, which is Isabel Prestia. All of these links will be in the show notes, guys, so don't stress. And yeah, just act on that. Look further. Of course, you're welcome to DM me if you want to ask any further questions. And ultimately, we'll just see if this is a fit for you. So my biggest advice is to act on that little inkling inside of you. However, that is all the general housekeeping for now. So we are going to jump into, firstly, where I was before my trip. So I touched on quite briefly. What I want to say is, like, honestly, before I left Australia was one of the most challenging weeks of my life I have experienced in a hell of a long time. And so this is the side of me that is very much, into shadow work, into really understanding why things have to happen to us. And what I really made sense of this whole situation is that the universe is going to test you right before you are going to level up. And I can't even really begin to put into words how much I have felt this level up since returning from my trip. But for right now, we're going to shine the light on where I was before this level up. So the thing is, I was faced with a couple personal challenges, hurdles, whatnot to overcome. And it was such a test of my emotions. The week before, it was an emotional roller coaster. I was going through such lows and such highs, like such sadness, such anxiety, such excitement, such nervousness. And it really was a very interesting week. Shout out to my friend Sophia. She honestly was my rock that week because my emotions were just all over the place. And thank God I had a friend like her that I was with her like 24/7. Well, calling if I wasn't with her. Like I just needed some like grounding stability in my life. And I'm thankful that she was that person for me, especially in that time. She mostly is always that person for me. And what I realized from this whole situation and why I'm sharing this is because, guys, I have a very interesting insight for you here. So listen up. I realized that leading up to this trip, I realized that there was this version of me that I had to say goodbye to. There was this version of me that she got me to where I currently am right now as I'm recording this episode. But that version of me, she could no longer come with me. And it was such a deep, profound realization. I realized I was essentially grieving an old identity of myself. And it was interesting as well. I was having a conversation with my friend Ebony pretty much about this whole situation. And I opened up to her and I was kind of telling her what was going on. And we realized we both very much understood this concept that we have to say goodbye to a version of ourselves if we are wanting to elevate and to essentially quantum leap and get to another version of ourselves. We can't bring those old patterns and behaviors with us when we are wanting to essentially jump into a whole new way of living and being. And so I was faced with these tests, I'm going to call it, that really shattered me and really made me realize cool, I clearly have two options here. I can either take the route of comfort, of familiarity, is that the right word? Or I can really reflect and be like, I have done a truckload of self-development on myself. It would be the biggest disservice to exist if I could not honor the work I've done on myself. And instead of falling back into old patterns because it's quote unquote comfort, I now need to take those learnings and steer myself down a completely new path where I know what the ending is because that is what I've been manifesting. That is what I've been envisioning. That's what my goals are taking me towards. But the path to get there is like pitch black. So, of course, I was going to take the unknown path because honestly, ever since really stepping out into my entrepreneurship journey, I low-key thrive in uncertainty now. It used to be so icky and uncomfortable for me, but now I'm like, I do not want to be associated with familiar patterns and situations. Like that's not how we are going to grow. That's not how we're going to get the most out of life. That's not how we're going to get lessons. So I knew in my heart, in my soul, in my gut, I had to honor myself. And I did that. And it was such a proud but sad moment. It was very, very strange. But essentially, I knew that this is what was required for my future self. And so I was experiencing, honestly, every single emotion under the sun. But when I really got to the end of this week, this was just the biggest whirlwind of a week to exist. The fact I got myself there, I could push past those challenges. I broke those bad habits. I changed so many repeating cycles into my life. It, of course, was a somewhat, I don't want to say sad moment because it was just very the emotions I felt was very overwhelmed, but also very joyful because I knew I was stepping into the person I'm always supposed to be. And that is what really enabled me to keep on going. And it just brought about so many fulfilling experiences and emotions knowing that I did it. And I got past so many huge challenges in my life. And the funny thing is, this was such a somewhat negative week leading up to my trip. When I then eventually was on my holiday, I still was having these overwhelming emotions, but it was just with complete happiness because I realized I did it. I realized I got there. And for anybody who can resonate with what I'm saying, and to anybody who understands these concepts of we are grieving an old identity of ourselves to get to where we are supposed to be, it is essentially going to be somewhat sad. It is essentially going to be extremely emotional because we are saying goodbye to these old patterns and behaviors and thoughts and thinking cycles. It's what we are used to, and our bodies, our body keeps score, and our body doesn't always know, our mind doesn't always know the difference between what is real and what is just made up in our minds. And so we get so used to thinking and being in a certain way. It's autopilot, right? However, when we do the work in ourselves and we recognize and we realize that we know we want more, we deserve more, and we can see this life that we want to create for ourselves, it's going to feel strange and icky and like very, I want to say like sticky, kind of like you're stuck in the mud and you're just doing so much to just like lift your feet and get out of this mud. But so much of your old life is just holding you back, and like you need to cultivate the strength, both like physical and mental strength, to lift your feet and to get out of the mud. And that's why I'm so passionate about meditation, because I call it's how I find my strength in stillness. Like I've been able to cultivate self-discipline from meditation, like insanely. And also I can just really allow myself to just sit in physically sit in complete stillness. Like I could do that for like 40 minutes, no matter if there's like so much like outside chatter and noise going on. Like I can really find this like sense of calm within me. And calmness is a superpower. And I now receive like compliments, which I fucking love. Like, I think this is so epic. Compliments when people are like, I love your energy. Like, you feel so enlightened, or, you know, stuff like that. Like, that is what I love. Like, I don't care about these, you know, physical appearance compliments. Like, people who can really recognize and appreciate essentially like this energy you have around you. Like, that is powerful. And that is like essentially magic. So that's why I love meditation. And that is what has really helped me to say goodbye to this old version of myself. I want to say, like, the thing is, guys, when we are stepping into this new version of ourselves, it's not an outside thing. It's not we are changing all these things about ourselves. We are essentially coming home to ourselves. We are peeling away all the outside noise and validation and self-worth and XYZ. And we are coming into our truest form. And it is an easy process, because we know deep down, like our soul, our intuition, our gut, it knows deep down, but you need to get rid of the outside noise to find out what that is. And so many of us don't want to do the work. So many of us are afraid of uncovering what we might find, but instead just approach it with excitement over scared. Change it from excitement from anxiety. This was something I learned 2 years ago when I quit my first job and I was in such an unknown phase, and it changed the game for me. I just said, like, I low-key thrive in uncertainty. I mean, we all want a sense of stability in our life. I find that in the connections around me. I find that, you know, I am creating structure in my business, but end of the day, unfamiliarity and uncertainty and like heading down a path where we just don't know, where it's not predictable, like that shit's exciting. Like, who knows what's going to come out of that? So that's essentially where my mindset was at before my trip, and also a lot whilst I was on my trip. Okay, so now we are talking about my mindset on the trip. So I'm going to share my biggest takeaways and what I like to call an aha moment. So the amount of realizations I had on this trip, honestly, I was in my absolute element, because I am a very deep thinker and I love to just really look into the reasons as to why things happen. And being on this trip by myself, first of all, I'm obsessed with solo traveling. I always knew I would love it, but it wasn't until obviously I fully embodied it, I realized I was completely thriving, because you just find a whole new sense of independence, obviously, yes. But at the same time, I really just got to know this side of myself that I didn't really know existed. I got to see how capable I truly am. I got to see how well I take care of myself. I got to see how much I thrive being in foreign new locations and being around people that I don't know before. And I was like so social when I was away, and I loved every second of it. The connections, the friendships, the conversations, the experiences I had is just everything I'm so glad I got to experience. And if you have ever been on the fence about solo traveling, let this be your sign to take the leap. If I can do it, you can do it. Trust me. And it's just an experience that I feel is so important to go through. And I cannot wait for my next solo trip, because it's just all on your own terms. And I'm somebody who just lives and breathes freedom and not having to like worry or confine to what other people want to do, like just be on my own terms. Like, that is how I thrive. I mean, that's why I have my own business. Like, I physically cannot work for somebody else. It just doesn't work for me at all. My personality, what I like to do, I just catch me never working for anybody. Funny story. Oh my God. I applied for a job before I left and I got the job, and then I had to decline the job because I realized it's not what I wanted. So that was a really short recap, but essentially I had a I had a panic moment where I thought my business wasn't working. This is just the inside of an entrepreneur in the very beginning days. And I applied for this real traditional, low-key boring marketing job. And I'm like, I'm not going to get this. Had a phone interview, completely stuffed it up, completely ruined it. I was like, oh, I'm not going to get this. As I'm about to board my flight to Dubai, I get an email saying, congratulations, Isabel, you've gone through to the next round. Please select your time for an interview. And I was just in absolute disbelief. And then it was interesting when I got to Barcelona and I, properly kind of read the email. It showed how much I just didn't really want this opportunity. I actually as well, I met up with my friend Tanya. She has been a long time listener of the podcast. She lives in Spain. She was actually on the podcast a year ago. I'll find our episode and link it below. And we have had an Instagram friendship for, I want to say, over 3 years. And we used to talk essentially every single day. We feel like we're soul sisters. We can speak about manifestation and mindset and law of attraction and all that kind of stuff. And just the connection we have, it's just such a special friendship. And as soon as I found out I was going to Spain and she lives there, of course, we're going to somehow figure out a way to hang out. And we did, and I got to meet her, and it was just, oh my gosh, it just made my heart so full. It was so amazing to spend time with her. And I wish I could spend so much longer with her, but I'm just so grateful I got to meet her and connect with her. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I was sharing this exact story with her. And I told her how I didn't want this job, and it came to me, and we both kind of realized that this was the universe giving me one final test to be like, how serious are you to stick with your business and to take it seriously? And the fact I even got an interview from this job is honestly laughable, because I could not answer so many of the questions in the interview. And I was just like, to be honest, I don't have an answer for this. I just don't know. I was completely myself, had no attachment, did not care at all. And then I got an interview. This is what happens when you completely let go and release any attachment. I didn't even want the thing though. And so we both realized that this was essentially a test from the universe to be like, how badly do you really want to stick to your business? And I got to decline the interview, and it was the best thing I ever did, because it really just solidified that, yet again, I'm not meant to work for somebody else. If I was to go on this beautiful, expansive trip and then come back to Adelaide and just start a 9 to 5, that just doesn't make sense. There is no sense of alignment in that whole situation. So side note there, that was kind of the first realization, literally within the first 24 hours of my holiday. So I had this really beautiful moment towards the end of when I was in Spain, and I took myself out. I had the most main character energy moments of my life. It was beautiful. I took myself out on a afternoon walk all around. I was in Seville, and Seville is the most gorgeous city I went to in Spain. Just so much culture, and it really was, when you think of Spain, that's what you think of. That was my interpretation of it. And it was gorgeous weather, and I took myself out. I had my little bag, my sunglasses, my AirPods on. I was just walking around the city, getting absolutely lost, and was loving every moment. And I was truthfully having pinch me moments. It was just such a special time for me, because I was looking at all these beautiful buildings and just taking in the scenery, and truly realizing and understanding that I got myself there. There was nobody else there who got me there but me. And this is something that I've been visioning for so many years. This European holiday was so much more than just a live my best life in Europe moment. This has been on my list since I was 17, 18. So many of us want to travel to Europe, yes, but this has been on my list for so long. I've had 3 European holidays booked, and all of them had to be cancelled for whatever reason. And it's always been out of my control. And so to make this trip happen for me was so important. And leading up to it, I was going to go with some girlfriends, but none of my friends seemed to be able to commit. And I was not going to let any of them stop me from going. And when I got to a point where another one was like, oh, sorry, I can't come anymore, I'm like, whatever, that's fine. I'm going by myself. And it was the best thing I ever did. And I'm just so beyond grateful. I listened to my heart and my soul, and I got myself there despite having to latch on or rely on another friend or somebody else. And it was just such a beautiful moment for me. And it's just been it's just been such a pivotal moment in terms of my mindset, like the growth that I felt in my mindset. It's just expanding like no other, and just expansion has just been the complete mood of my whole entire trip. And so coming back to this moment, to this story, when I was walking around Seville, and I just really recognized and realized, like, I truly, in that moment, I felt my most confident, happy, and determined self. I knew that any single thing is possible if I wanted to make it happen. I truly realize my power. Like, I realize how magnetic my energy is and how powerful my mindset is. And that I was able to reflect and realize like how easy it is for me to make friends and how easy it is for me to adapt in situations. Like, I can be in a hostel in a room with like 6 people and then just be completely fine. The next moment I can be in this bougie hotel and like living my best life. Like, I can truthfully just adapt to so many situations, and getting lost in these alleyways and admiring the beautiful churches and historic buildings. And then, the sound of church bells was constantly going in the background, and just to feel completely content and confident in the person I am. No need for validation from anybody, not dealing with any crummy behavior, not dealing with anybody who just doesn't make me feel at peace and at ease internally. And just to only be around connections that just leave me so full and make me feel so whole. And it just really made me realize just to be so mindful of the connections I keep into my life. And I really just felt like I just couldn't get much more main character energy if I tried. Like, I was just in complete bliss, and I took myself out for a beautiful paella and a glass of wine, and just truthfully embodying and enjoying, and I was just in my element. So that was such a beautiful realization for me. And another moment as well, in Seville as well. It's interesting because Seville was really the end of my Spain journey, and I really feel I was, the start of my trip was very go, 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 going to so many locations, like traveled so much distance as well. And it was incredible. Like, it really just took my mind of everything back home. And, despite that week before being like so shitty, it really just enabled me to completely forget about my whole entire life back in Australia. And I feel like, like my family comes from Italy. I was born in Australia, but I've always just felt such a beautiful connection, like just something about Europe and the culture and the history. Just, it really, really, really draws me in, and just how they live life and something about it. So I think really coming, like, I'm just making sense of this now. This makes sense. I was having all these realizations in Seville at the end of my Spain little extravaganza, I'm going to call it. There was this one moment where it was late at night, and so the girls I was with in Seville, a lot of them had horrible, we think it was food poison or a stomach bug. Anyway, everyone was so sick, apart from myself and one other girl. And so everyone was really sick in bed in the hostel, and, we're out for a bit and then went back, and everyone was just going to bed, and like, it was still daylight, the sun was still up. And I'm like, okay, I'm not spending my afternoon/evening in this hostel. So typical me, I packed up my bag, AirPods, sunnies, did my thing, got myself out of the room, and I wandered around the whole entire streets, honestly, for like so many hours. It was nighttime by the time I got back, and I was just wandering around, and there was this moment where I was sitting in front of this beautiful fountain, and I was reflecting on the day. I'd had the most beautiful day yet again, just getting completely lost and just getting so mesmerized by the buildings and just walking around. And I think as well, just feeling so unknown, I guess I want to say, in a city where, you're not going to bump into anybody that you know. And it's something about that. It's just so not even fulfilling, like something more than that. Anyway, so I realized my soul was completely full from the beautiful time I'd had. And the fact I felt, and side note, Spain, Seville, like Seville especially, Spain, it's such a romantic city. So much love, like you can just feel it. And the fact I had felt so completely content in my own energy, being by myself, was something that was just a whole new level of bliss, I want to call it. And it really was an experience in this moment. I realized that this is something I want to bring with me bring on into my life forever, essentially. Like to just feel so content and calm and confident in your own skin, not needing, a partner, not always needing to have a best friend around you. That is my definition of fulfillment, of confidence, of being sure of yourself. And I really, really was able to tap into that feeling when I was on this beautiful solo romantic night walk in Spain. And I was honestly just smiling so much and just feeling so proud and excited and happy about what I'd have experienced and just the moment I was in right now. And I really hope I articulated that properly, but I'm really just, I feel like I'm back in time now. Like I really can tap in and remember what that experience was like and how I felt. And it was just like magic, just straight up magic. And it was beautiful. And I just knew that this was like the preface of this new version of this new identity self I was about to step into. And I was like, damn, like life is about to get incredible. And the feeling of being so proud of yourself is something that I just want everybody to experience. And the way you get there is honestly just honoring what you say you're going to do. Me with this trip, I so easily could have let outside people, external factors stop me from going just because a friend or somebody else couldn't commit. But instead I'm like, that's not my problem. You can't come. You're missing out on such a great adventure. And I committed to myself and said I was going to do this. And that is how you can experience this sense of fulfillment. If you tell yourself you're going to wake up early and meditate and journal and go for a walk, and then you wake up and you don't feel like doing any of those things, you are doing a disservice to yourself. You are not honoring your future self, who is never going to come into your life. Your life is never going to change if you don't start to do the things you say you are going to do. And I started this whole practice, this whole concept with small things, with waking up early, making my bed, going to the gym, meditating, journaling, doing my gratitude. I've been on this whole self-development, healing, energetic journey for like over 6 years, right? So this isn't something that just happens just like that. Like I've been doing this work for so many years. And now I'm at a point where I am just doing it on such a bigger scale, which is epic. This is what I've always wanted to do. And this is just the start of this epic scale I'm about to embark on. Like I can't even put into words yet how incredible my life is becoming. Like I can't even put it into words yet. And I'm so excited that I can share this with you guys. And whether you have been here from the beginning or you're just tuning in now or you've just found me recently, you are in for a hell of a journey because I share so much of what I do. I share so much of my mindset as to how I get there. I share so much of my life, of the pretty polished product. I share so much of the vulnerable, open, ugly stuff that goes on behind the scenes because I want everybody to get there. It's collaboration over competing. If I was to withhold all this incredible information and just only show you the polished, pretty things and not show you the shit and the shadow work and the tears and the negativity that went on behind the scenes to get there, that's just selfish. And that's just showing, like, that's just greed. And that's just saying that, I don't know, that's just like not the vibe. I want everybody to experience this in their own way. So I'm going to leave this episode here because I so easily could go on forever and ever. I just want to share that, this part of my Europe journey was lots of adventure, lots of distance traveled physically and also like mentally and emotionally. When I was actually in Morocco as well, I touched on this briefly. It was a very spiritual experience. And what I mean by this is a lot of realizations and more like aha moments came to the surface. And I'm not really sure why Morocco was such a somewhat special part of my whole journey. Guys, the journey to get there was an absolute fucking marathon. We got this like 3-hour bus ride from Spain. We had to get this ferry to Morocco and just the whole experience there and back. It was just, I've been to third world countries before, so it wasn't too eye-opening. Like I've kind of seen what that's like before, but it definitely still hits you every single time. So yeah, it was an adventure, that's for sure, but loved it. So yeah, Morocco was a very unique, unreal experience. The food was amazing. Oh my gosh. Moroccan food, I'm such a big fan. It was delicious. Also, everyone else got food poisoning apart from myself and a couple others. So I just bathed in hand sanitizer. If you go to Morocco, it's very, very, very likely you will get food poisoning. But guys, I somehow beat it. So we love that for me. But yeah, Morocco was a very unique experience. And yeah, it was beautiful. I'm so grateful I got to go to Africa and got to experience it. Like that's like definitely big bucket list moments. And guys, check out my post on my personal Instagram, Isabel Prestia. I have quite a few reels up as well of Morocco because it was just such a gorgeous place to create content in. And this blue city, Chef Sean, oh my God, I think I said that properly. No, I didn't actually. It's the whole entire city is blue. Like the buildings, the walls, the floors, it's this tiny, tiny town. It is stunning. So check out my content. It's honestly unreal. So, so beautiful. But yeah, so basically, I guess you could say like I was essentially hustling out this whole experience in Europe. It was so incredible. It was exactly what I needed to distract myself from everything back home. And I just knew that it's exactly what I needed to get out of my system because I just knew the week after my Mindspo retreat in Cyprus, I knew this was going to be next level, transformative, and ultimately like the best week of my life. And I know I'm very much somebody who I don't want to have expectations just to be let down. But I just knew in my soul that this Mindspo retreat, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to do an episode about this. I just knew in my heart that this week was going to be everything the past essential like 6 years has been building up to, and the most perfect beginning of this new reality I'm creating for myself. This experience around Europe, around Spain and Morocco, that was just so much fun and adventure and socializing and traveling and exploring. And that was exactly what my soul needed. And I just knew that this Cyprus week on my Mindspo retreat was just going to be the most like soothing and nourishing and expansive like days of my life. So I was just so beyond excited to have that to look forward to. It was just such an incredible knowing that that was coming. And when my trip in the first few weeks was coming to an end, and I was getting myself from Spain to Cyprus, like it was such a journey yet again. I had to go to London and had a huge layover and this and that, and just just another sense of fulfillment knowing that I got myself there. Like if you've been to the Heathrow, wow, the London airport, the main one, it's like next level enormous, and I had a few kind of hiccups and difficulties with luggage and that kind of thing, but I figured it all out. I got myself there. So I problem solved. Very proud of myself. So I just knew it was all part of like the journey as to what's to come. So I am going to be back with a part 2, which would be all about the Mindspo recap. This is a must listen as well, guys. If you got this far on the episode, I'm so thankful you chose to stick around. You chose to listen to my storytelling, to my learnings, to my experiences. I'm so grateful you are here and that you are supporting the podcast Start Somewhere. I'm going to love you and leave you. Please be sure, guys, to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, on YouTube, wherever you are watching. That way you'll be updated when part 2 comes out. Thanks so much, guys. I will speak to you soon. Bye.